Obinna Okafor was a man everyone envied. At just 35 years old, he was one of Nigeria's youngest billionaires, known for his revolutionary tech company. He had made a fortune developing digital solutions that transformed industries across Africa. Obinna lived in the heart of Lagos, surrounded by wealth and luxury. But beneath the glitz and glamour, Obinna was a man worn down by the pressure of success. His social circles were full of pretentious friends who cared more about his wealth than his well-being. Even his girlfriend Adaora, a renowned socialite and fashion influencer, treated him more like an accessory than a partner. Adaora was stunning, with a commanding presence that made heads turn wherever she went. But she was also bossy, rude, and consumed by her desire for fame. Adaora's relationship with Obinna was more about convenience than love. She loved being associated with his wealth and status, using every opportunity to flaunt the relationship online. She was the type to demand expensive gifts without so much as a thank you, and she treated the household staff with contempt. "Obinna, I need the new Hermes bag in the limited connections," she said one evening, casually scrolling through her phone while they had dinner at a high-end restaurant. "You know, the one only 3 people in Lagos can afford." Obinna sighed. "Ada, you just got a new bag last week. Do you really need another one?" Adaora looked up sharply, her perfectly arched eyebrows raised. "Obinna, are you seriously questioning me? What will people say if I'm still carrying old design? You know how important my image is to me." But despite her demanding nature, Obinna tolerated Adaora because she fit into the published affluent world he had built. His friends adored her, and she complimented his image as a wealthy bachelor with the perfect trophy girlfriend. But deep down, he felt hollow. Adaora's constant obsession with material things and her lack of empathy wore him down. She rarely asked how he was doing or cared about his struggles. Whenever he brought up his rural hometown Nsukka, Adaora would wrinkle her nose in disgust. "Obinna, I don't understand why you keep talking about that village. Just leave those backward people behind. You are not one of them anymore," she will always say. Her words stuck, but Obinna never showed it. He had worked hard to escape the poverty of his childhood, but he could never forget where he came from. The memories of barefoot lawns through dusty roads, helping his mother sell akara by the roadside to make ends meet, and the sacrifice his late father made to send him to school were ached in his heart. Obinna's life took an unexpected turn when a family land dispute arose in Nsukka. His uncle, who had been managing the land for years, was accused of selling a portion of it illegally. The elders insisted that Obinna return to settle the matter, since he was now the family's most successful member. Initially, he resisted. He did not just want to leave Lagos or disrupt his work schedule, but after much persuasion from his mother, he reluctantly agreed to visit Nsukka for a week. Adaora, of course, was not pleased. "So you are going to that dusty village? For what exactly? Let those people sort themselves out. You have better things to do," she said, lounging on the sofa in his penthouse. "Ada, this is my family you are talking about. I have to go," Obinna replied patiently. "Then I'm coming with you," she declared. "No, you are not. You will hate it there. There's no luxury hotels, no Wi-Fi, no fancy restaurants," Obinna said with a small smile. Adaora scoffed, "As if I want to spend even a day in that place." "Fine, you can go, but don't expect me to sit around waiting for you. I have events to attend." Her indifference annoyed him, but he did not argue as his private jet landed in Enugu and he made the drive to Nsukka. Obinna felt an odd sense of nostalgia. The familiar sight of red earth roads, Palm trees swaying in the breeze and children playing barefoot brought a rush of memories. He had left this life behind, but it still felt like home. Obinna arrived at his family compound, where the land dispute dominated every conversation. But after a heated meeting with the elders, he decided to take a walk to clear his head. That was when he saw her. By the roadside was a young woman who stood under a large mango tree with a tray of oranges balanced on her head. She was laughing with a customer, her eyes sparkling with joy. Her simple Ankara dress was worn but clean, and her braided hair shone in the sunlight. Something about her caught Obinna's attention, and before he knew it, he was walking toward her. "Madam, how much are your oranges?" he asked. The woman turned to him, her smile warm and inviting. "They are 50 naira each, sir, and they are very sweet and fresh." Obinna raised an eyebrow. 50 naira. "Are you sure they are that good?" he said. She laughed, a sound that was pure and unpretentious. "You look like someone who can afford to take the risk. Why not try one? And if it's not sweet, I'll give you 2 for free." Intrigued by her confidence, Obinna bought 3 oranges. He sat on a nearby bench to eat them, watching as the woman interacted with her other customers. She treated everyone with kindness, whether they bought a single orange or a dozen. When a little boy could not afford to pay her, she handed him an orange and told him to bring the money later. Obinna was fascinated. In Lagos, he was surrounded by people who only cared about money and appearance. But here was a woman who lived simply, yet her generosity and warmth made her stand out. The next day, Obinna returned to the market. This time, he introduced himself. "I am Obinna," he said, extending a hand. The woman hesitated before shaking it. "I am Ifeoma. You are not from here, are you?" she asked him politely. "No, I live in Lagos now. I'm just visiting." Ifeoma nodded, her expression cautious. "Ah, big man from Lagos, what brings you to our small village?" "Family issues," he replied, "and maybe oranges." She chuckled. "You must really like my oranges," she said while smiling. "They are good, but the seller is more interesting," Obinna said with a grin. Ifeoma rolled her eyes. "Big men like you think you can charm anyone with smooth talk. I am not interested." Her bluntness took him by surprise. In Lagos, women like Adaora fell over themselves to impress him, but Ifeoma was different. She was not dazzled by his wealth or appearance, and that only made him want to know her more. Obinna's daily visit to the market did not go unnoticed. Back in Lagos, Adaora grew suspicious when he stopped answering her call. One evening, she called him while he was talking to Ifeoma. "Who is that?" Adaora demanded when he answered. "No one important," he lied, not wanting to explain. Adaora did not believe him. "You are acting strange, Obinna. Don't forget who you belong to." Her possessiveness grated on him, and for the first time, he wondered why he had to put up with her for so long. Ifeoma's life had never been easy, but she wore her struggles with pride and determination. She was the first daughter of her family and had taken up responsibility far beyond her age. Her mother had passed away when she was just 15, leaving her to step into a nurturing role for her younger brother Ikem, while her father, Papa Ikem, worked tirelessly as a welder in the small village of Nsukka. They were a tight-knit family, bound together by love and shared sacrifice. Ifeoma often remembered how her father used to tell her stories under the stars after long days of work. "We might not have much," he will always say, "but as long as we have each other, we are rich." His words shaped Ifeoma's outlook on life, teaching her that wealth came from love, hard work and community, not material possession. Her brother Ikem was the family's golden child. From a young bright age, it was clear that he was brilliant. He aced every school exam, often winning prizes for his academic excellence. While the other children in the village dreamed of traveling abroad or starting businesses, Ikem had a singular goal, which is to become a doctor and return to serve his community. We are going to do whatever it takes to make sure you achieve your dream, Ikem, Ifeoma would often tell her brother, and she meant it. When Ikem gained admission to study medicine at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, the family celebrated like it was a festival. But the joy was short-lived when they quickly realized that the cost of tuitions, book, and accommodation was far beyond what Papa Ikem's welding job could cover. With tears in his eyes, her father suggested selling the small piece of land he had inherited from his ancestors. "Papa, are you sure about this?" Ifeoma had asked. He nodded. "What is the use of the land if it cannot help us? Ikem must focus on his studies. We are going to manage with the rest." From that point on, the family worked harder than ever. Papa Ikem spent long hours at the welding shop, often coming home with blisters hands and an aching back. Ifeoma sold oranges by the roadside and took up a side hustle teaching the village children how to read and write. She charged a token amount, just enough to help with expenses, but the real reward came from knowing she was making a difference in her small way. If there was one thing Ifeoma never got tired of talking about, it was her brother. Whenever she got a chance, she would brag about Ikem to anyone who cared to listen. "My brother is going to be a great doctor someday," she would tell her customers at the market, her face lighting up with pride. "He is so focused and hardworking. Even with all this struggle, he never complains. One day, he's going to make our family proud," she said. Her love for Ikem was evident in everything she did. When she was not selling oranges, she was sewing up old clothes to make them last longer, or cooking meals to send to him at their university. Despite their challenges, she never complained. To her, every sacrifice was worth it if it meant that Ikem would succeed. Obinna's visit to the market became a regular occurrence. At first, he told himself it was just curiosity. Ifeoma was unlike anyone he had met, and her presence intrigued him. She had a certain grace and an unshakable strength that shone through even when she was tired from a long day of work. One afternoon, he found her sitting under a tree, helping a group of children with their lesson. She had a chalkboard propped against the truck and was teaching them how to write their names in English. "You are not just an orange seller," Obinna said, walking up to her after the lesson. She looked up, wiping the chalk dust from her hands. "What makes you think that?" "You are doing so much for your community. Teaching, caring for your family, supporting your brother. It's very inspiring." Ifeoma gave him a small smile. "I'm just doing what I can. My family has done so much for me. This is my way of giving back." As the days turned into weeks, Obinna found himself opening up to Ifeoma in ways he had not with anyone else. He told her about his childhood in Nsukka, how his father had struggled to send him to school, and how he had built his empire from the ground up. "You have come so far," Ifeoma said one day, "but don't forget where you started. That's what keeps us grounded." Her words struck a chord with him. In Lagos, he was surrounded by people like Adaora, who only cared about appearances, but Ifeoma saw beyond the surface. She valued the person he was, not the billionaire he had become. Back in Lagos, Ifeoma was growing increasingly frustrated with Obinna's prolonged stay in the village. When he ignored her calls for 2 days straight, she decided to take matters into her own hands. Using her connections, She found out where he was staying and drove to Nsukka unannounced. When she arrived at the market and saw Obinna talking to Ifeoma, she was very furious. "Who is this?" Adaora demanded, matching up to them in her designer heels and sunglasses. Obinna sighed. "Adaora, this is Ifeoma. She is, oh, an orange seller." Adaora cut in, her voice dripping with disdain. She turned to Ifeoma, looking her up and down. "So this is why you have been ignoring me, to spend time with her." Ifeoma, unfazed by Adaora's attitude, simply picked up her tray of oranges and turned to leave. But Obinna stopped her. "Ifeoma, wait," he said. Adaora crossed her arms. "You are seriously choosing her over me?" "Obinna, have you lost your mind?" Adaora said. Obinna replied as saying, "I think I finally found it." Adaora stormed off, but her parting words lingered. "You are going to regret this, Obinna, mark my words." After Adaora's dramatic exit, Ifeoma confronted Obinna. "What are you doing here, Obinna? You don't belong in my world." Ifeoma said with a worried expression. "Ifeoma, I've spent my whole life chasing success, but it's never made me happy. You have showed me what truly matters. Family, kindness and love. I just want to be part of your world." For the first time, Ifeoma saw vulnerability in Obinna's eyes. He wasn't the arrogant billionaire she had thought him to be. He was a man searching for meaning just like her. Over time, their bond deepened. Obinna began helping with the children's lesson and even repaired the roof of the village school. He supported Ifeoma in her work, but he also respected her independence. Adaora had always been used to getting her way. Raised in luxury, she had never faced rejection, especially not from someone like Obinna. After returning to Lagos humiliated, she could not shake the image of him choosing an ordinary orange seller over her. The whispers among her social circle stunk even more. "Did you hear? Obinna dumped Adaora for a village girl. She must have done something to enchant him," they said, and Adaora's pride would not let her rest. "Obinna is mine. If Obinna will not come back to me, then I will force his hand. He does not belong with someone like her," she said while planning her next move. She devised a plan that was dangerous, reckless, and entirely fueled by desperation. She hired a group of men to kidnap Ifeoma and teach her a lesson. Her hope was simple: scare the girl enough to make her disappear from Obinna's life forever. One evening, as Ifeoma was returning home from her teaching job, a black SUV pulled up beside her. Before she could react, two masked men jumped out, grabbed her and shoved her into the car. Ifeoma's scream echoed in the night, but no one was around to hear. The kidnappers tied her hands and blindfolded her, driving her to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. "Please, what do you want from me?" she cried. One of the men said, "Someone paid us to make sure you disappear. You have been messing with the wrong people." Meanwhile, Obinna, who had been planning to visit Ifeoma that evening, grew concerned when she did not respond to his calls. He reached out to Papa Ikem, and when he confirmed she had not returned home, Obinna sprang into action. Using his connections, he alerted the local police and hired private investigators to track her down. As the investigation progressed, one of the kidnappers was caught trying to withdraw money from an ATM using Adaora's burner card. Under interrogation, he confessed everything, implicating Adaora as the mastermind behind the plot. The police raided the warehouse where Ifeoma was being held and rescued her just in time. She was shaking but unharmed, her strength shining through as she thanked the officers and Obinna for coming to her aid. Adaora, however, wasn't so lucky. When the news broke, it caused a scandal that rocked Lagos high society. Her family, mortified by her actions, cut ties with her, and her former friends abandoned her. Adaora was sentenced to several years in prison, a punishment that served as a stark reminder of the consequences of her arrogance and desperation. The incident only strengthened the bond between Ifeoma and Obinna. For the first time, Obinna realized just how much Ifeoma had endured, not just because of him, but throughout her life. Her resilience and kindness inspired him even more. "I don't know how you stay so strong after everything," Obinna said one evening as they sat under the stars. She replied, "Because I have my family and God." Ifeoma replied softly, "And now I have you too." Obinna decided to use his wealth to make her life more easy, not by changing her, but by supporting her dreams. He funded her passion for teaching by building a community school in Nsukka, where Ifeoma became the head teacher. The school offered free education for children from underprivileged backgrounds, something Ifeoma had always dreamed of. He also supported Ikem in his medical studies, ensuring he had all the resources he needed to succeed. A year later, on a sunny day in Nsukka, Obinna proposed to Ifeoma in front of her family and the entire village. He knelt under the mango tree where they had first spoken, holding a simple but elegant ring. "Ifeoma, you have taught me what love truly means. You have filled the void in my life with your kindness, your strength, and your unwavering faith. Will you marry me?" Tears filled Ifeoma's eyes as she nodded. "Yes, Obinna, 1,000 times yes." The entire village erupted in celebration. Papa Ikem beamed with pride, and Ikem hugged his sister tightly. The wedding was a beautiful blend of simplicity and grandeur, held in the village but attended by people from all walks of life, including Obinna's influential friends who had come to admire Ifeoma. After their marriage, the couple continued to give back to the community. Ifeoma expanded her teaching initiative while Obinna invested in local businesses to create job opportunities. Ikem graduated with honors and began working at a prestigious hospital, fulfilling the family's dream. He often told people that his sister and his father were the true heroes of his story. After their wedding, Obinna made it his mission to give Ifeoma every opportunity she had missed due to her humble background. Though she was brilliant and passionate, her lack of formal education has always held her back from fully realizing her potential. "I want you to dream as big as you want," Obinna told her. "You have given so much to others. Now is your turn to shine." Obinna enrolled her in a prestigious university in Lagos, where Ifeoma pursued a degree in education. Despite the challenges of adapting to a world so different from the one that she grew up in, Ifeoma excelled. Her determination to succeed and make a difference in the lives of others earned her the admiration of both her professors and peers. During her studies, Ifeoma became a vocal advocate for education for underprivileged children, sharing her story of perseverance and sacrifice. She was invited to speak at events where her authenticity and passion made her a rising star. Before long, she became a household name, known for her work in transforming communities through education. Inspired by her experience, Ifeoma and Obinna launched the Ifeoma Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to providing scholarship, building schools in rural areas, and supporting women in small businesses. The foundation grew rapidly, attracting donors from across the country and even abroad. Ifeoma's story of resilience became a symbol of hope for many. She was featured in magazines, invited to international conferences, and even awarded a national honor for her contribution to education and community development. Though in all, she remained grounded and never forgot her roots. She often visited Nsukka, where she continued teaching at the community school she had started, even as her influence grew. A few years after their wedding, Ifeoma and Obinna welcomed their first child, a daughter they named Norma, which means good mother. The name was a tribute to the strength and sacrifice of Ifeoma's late mother. Obinna, who had once felt an emptiness in his life despite his wealth, found his greatest joy in his family. He cherished every moment with Ifeoma and their children, often saying, "I never knew life could be this fulfilling." The family continued to grow, eventually welcoming 2 more children who were twins, and they named them Chidera and Chinonso. Ifeoma juggled motherhood, her career and her foundation with grace, supported by Obinna, who had fully embraced a life of purpose alongside with her. As years passed, Obinna and Ifeoma love only deepened. Together, they built a legacy that wasn't defined by material wealth but by the countless lives they touched. Ikem, now a successful doctor, often visited their home in Lagos, bringing stories of how his sister's sacrifice had inspired him to be the best version of himself. Papa Ikem, though older, often joined family gatherings, proud to see how far his children had come. Their story became one that people across the country spoke about with admiration, a tale of love, sacrifice, and the power of believing in someone even when the odds were against them. Obinna, once the lonely billionaire, had found not just a partner but a purpose. And Ifeoma, the humble orange seller, had become a beacon of hope and a symbol of what was possible when love, faith, and determination come together. Together, they proved that true wealth wasn't about money but about the lives they enriched and the love they shared, a legacy that will inspire generations to come. And as for Adaora, she served her time and disappeared from the public eye. Her downfall became a cautionary tale of how envy and pride could destroy even the most privileged lives.